Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
You
Well,
know,
hi, kids. How are you?
not feeling my 100% best today, but
Mhm.
the
We're
the
pushing
the
through.
we are push and go through.
Mhm.
All right.
Sounds familiar.
All right. Good morning, guys, and thank you so much for tuning in to another Digital Jamaica live stream show. I'm your host, Katie Francis, and this is
Monique McIntosh. Welcome, guys.
welcome. We're gonna keep the show tight today, right? So we're gonna push on. Coming up on the show, the tech word of the day and our trivia question. And we're only gonna discuss one thing in our new segment today because we have something else a little bit more juicy
Juicy.
that we
That we
wanted to
want to
get
talk
to.
about.
Yes, so in today's new segment, we're talking about the new traffic management system being implemented to facilitate the electronic issuing of traffic tickets. Now, I've been hearing about this traffic management system coming from long time.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see where they are at now. But later after that, we're moving into our the take segment because Monique, we've seen some shenanigans and foolishness happening on the internet over the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we thought this is a job for digital job because, and we're talking, guys, the case of the artist versus the photographer. Yeah. And so we've seen the back and forth and the drama unfold over social media this past weekend, and we've seen how people have been responding to it. And
Mhm.
some of the responses are like, so clearly we need to have a conversation because y'all don't know what your rights are, what you don't have rights to, what this thing is, and it's a really about social media etiquette, isn't it, Mom?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're going to talk all about it and kind of peel back some of the layers and give our thoughts and opinions on the whole scenario and situation. If you guys, unless you're hiding under a rock, you guys might have discovered or found it unfolding over the weekend. So,
Yeah.
we're unearthing or addressing the question at the heart of the whole matter. Are creatives entitled to be tagged on social media posts that show their work?
And you
Yeah.
know what I also want to discuss too, Monique, is
Hmm.
a tag a recommendation because that kept coming up a lot. That
Yes.
kept coming up a lot. So, are you entitled to be tagged if somebody's sharing your work on social media as a creative, as anybody?
Right.
And two, is a tag a recommendation?
Yeah.
Even if more, you have already been paid for the work. So
Yes.
so the situation, the person was paid, but there's an issue with who never tag who, and if a tag is a recommendation or not a recommendation. So we're gonna get into that a little bit later because it's not as cut and dry or
Clear
black as
cut.
white, yeah, as people may think it is because there's a legal factor or element to
That comes into play. Yeah.
yes.
So you have to stay tuned for that because we'll get into the juicy bits of it. Guys, have you heard about the Four Dummies reference guide? So if you've ever heard about it, on Technically Speaking, we're talking to Trevor Forrest, CEO of 876 Technology Solutions, Varun Baker, CEO of Farm Credibly, as well as Donald Porter, who is a contributor to Beachfront Crypto. And we're talking all about uh, digital currencies, we're talking Bitcoin,
Blockchain
blockchain,
for
we're
dummies.
talking, yeah, literally, yeah. So we're talking about all of that, and they're gonna peel back some of the layers because we've been hearing about cryptocurrency and stuff, but in order to really understand it, we have to dig deeper. And later on People and Products, we're talking to Anya Jean Phillips of Do It For Me. And they're doing creative digital advertising. So you kind of want to stay tuned for that conversation. Now, guys, we'll love to hear from you. And your comments help us to know, how you're feeling and what's happening in your mind and your thoughts and reactions to what we're actually saying. So please leave a comment, share a message. Let us know what you guys are thinking and saying in real time. The best comments are going to be added or featured in the stream. We really want to hear from you guys.
All right. Good morning, Shannon, over on LinkedIn. And good morning. I think that says Ekrel Cable. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thanks for your good morning
support
messages. Right. So, the Digital Jamaica Live Show is sponsored by G5 Cybersecurity Limited, protecting businesses and families. Visit g5cybersecurity.com to assess your company's network for security vulnerabilities and to see if you are compliant with the data protection. Is it the data protection? The data
Jamaica.
protection.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, guys. So check out G5 Cybersecurity and shout out to Gavin, who had good news happening over the weekend. We can't say what it is, but congratulations.
Congratulations.
To Gavin. So excited and so happy for you. All right, Monique. So, what is the word of the day for today and our trivia question?
Awesome. So today's word of the day is digital currency, and it's absolutely fitting because of all of the stuff that we're talking about today, from blockchain and Bitcoin and all of those stuff. So this is really the heart of where all of that got the foundation to emerge from. So digital currency, also known as digital money or electric currency, is any currency, money, or money-like asset that is primarily managed, stored, or exchanged on via digital computer systems, especially over the internet. So there are multiple types of digital currencies, and these things can look like or include cryptocurrency, virtual currency, and even CBDC, central bank digital currency. Now, digital currencies can also be recorded in different ways, whether it's on a distributed database on the internet, a centralized electronic computer database, for example, something that's owned by a company or owned by a bank, in digital files, or even on a store value card. So when you buy a $20 Amazon gift card or certificate, that is electronic money. That is digital currency. So you can see that digital currency is not something that's exactly new. It's been here for a while. So digital currencies exhibits properties that are very similar to traditional currencies, but they normally don't have a physical form like we're used to with banknotes or minted coins. So by virtue of it not having a physical form, it allows for almost instantaneous transactions, especially like how we have the layer of the internet, and it can tend to remove a lot of the cost that's associated with distributing physical cash, notes and coins that literally have to be shipped overseas. Yeah. So this is what that allows, though, is that you can transfer ownership, and virtual currencies in many cases aren't usually distributed or issued by a government body, and so in many cases are not considered legal tender in the main virtual currencies. But what it allows is ownership transfer across governmental borders. So that's our take on digital currencies for today. And so we have our trivia question. Our tech trivia question of the day is, what was the first digital currency and in which year was it created? What was the first digital currency and in which year was it created? So guys, leave your answer for today's tech trivia question. What was the first digital currency and in which year was it created? We're looking forward to seeing your answers because you can be a big winner. All right, guys. So moving on to our tech news. As we would have, you're muted, kids.
Before you move on to the tech news, it's interesting that we talk about digital currency and we talk about the distributed database, or what they call the distributed ledger, transaction ledger, the DTL, right? Because guys, last week we tried to have this conversation on Twitter Spaces and Twitter just wouldn't let us be great.
Twitter floppy.
Completely floppy. But Trevor, who's going to be on the show tonight, he did touch on that. And I think it was Donald who explained the difference between how banks used to track transactions and how blockchain works to track transaction, which is through the distributed transaction ledger. Mm-hmm. So that's an interesting conversation that we need to that we should have as well. So stay tuned for that, because we're gonna just quickly go over what we started last week Tuesday, and then we run into it. But Monique, in our news segment today, there is a new electronic ticket management system that the government is going to be introduced. What is it and how does it work?
All right. So the government, first of all, piggybacking on what you had mentioned earlier, I too remember hearing about this before, and in a part of it, they were talking about the new speed guns that a few of the police officers got access to as a pilot, and how it would be able to capture certain information and literally just send information to you, to your home or whatever over time. Yeah. This is not that, or maybe it's a part of it, but they did not mention that part of it at all. Yeah. In this case, they talked about a web-based e-traffic management system where basically they have a smartphone that can connect to that portable printer. So how they've set it up is that the police officers will have these printers on hand as well to facilitate the issuance of traffic tickets. So once it's entered through the officer's phone, it's automatically uploaded to the entire system. So it's supposed to be interlinked with the multiple agencies that have to correspond. So the police, it will be updated on their database or system, as well as it will be automatically updated or uploaded to the tax office, so that as soon as the ticket is issued, you are able to go into the system. And because we know that this does not happen automatically. Sometimes you get a ticket, and when you go into the system, it's not on the system. So you have to manually reach from the system, right? And so you have to physically present yourself to the tax office. So this is trying to mitigate that, right? As well as to provide greater cross-references of both the driver and the vehicle information, because they will be able to go in and check your documents on hand, like right then and there, right? So under the new system, persons can actually opt to receive the ticket via email as well. But the printer will be there, so that there can still be a physical.
So they're still getting physical.
Yeah, it's a printer from day one.
Let go of that. Why can't we let go of that?
Right? So the email is an option, right? So, but at least there is that side of it that allows for the background checking to make sure that your license and your insurance and your registration and those other things are kind of integrated.
Finally.
I'm saying, I hope that
I cannot believe that right now we have a system where that is not integrated. So what have they been? Sometimes we cause police. I would say also the things with police, but they have not been operating with proper tools and equipment.
No.
How have they been doing their jobs all this time if it is that you can't on the spot check to see if a driver you have stopped or something is legit or legal? And now, and let me tell you what my problem is with these things. We get so excited and oh, this is new. This is not new technology. This is old technology, and we're still insisting on keeping the old things that did not serve us in the first. Why are we still printing things? You know, Monique, in the latest episode of Digital Jamaica podcast, shameless plug,
Yes.
I spoke to Jonathan Sinclair, and one of the things that Jonathan said he would recommend to the government of Jamaica is that certain things need not be physical or done physically. He was talking about paying taxes, whether it's your property taxes or, and I know when you go get upset, you're renewing your license or updating your fitness and registration. I know this is the bane of your existence. You've been going through it. He's like, I don't understand why this is still something that you have to go to an office to do when it's not even software they have to buy. There's freeware out there that allows people to do these things. But of course, it's government, they want the security, so you're gonna have, But come on now, why are we still doing these things and then we make these grand announcements like, oh look, we're getting technological.
No, what's the worst part is you make the grand announcement. I don't mind, you can make as many grand announcements as you want, but at least roll out the system because both of us can identify similar situations and where announcements under the same topic have been discussed before and announced before, and we still don't have full rollout of those systems. But we're going to announce another pilot system.
Always a pilot, because then when you do it in a pilot way, you can always and then this is the thing. You never know what the results of the pilots are.
No.
You never get a report, well, not publicly anyway, to say this is the results, where are they going forward or not. And it is highly frustrating. But guys, we're gonna quickly move on because the juicy, we have to jump into that before our guests come on.
Yeah.
So we have some quick updates for you guys before we move into the take segment. As I said before, there's a new episode of the Digital Jamaica podcast that was released earlier this week. And I had a really awesome conversation with Jonathan Sinclair. He's a data scientist, second generation Jamaican, living in London. And we had a really insightful exchange as to what's happening on the scene in London versus what is happening in Jamaica, the shifts in digital culture, the aggressive integration that has been happening, but then on the other hand, the slowness to transform. So we're having aggressive integration, like these one pilot projects that have popped up since COVID, especially in Jamaica. But you're actually not seeing that result into anything more long term or more integral. To be quite honest with you, they're piecemeal things that we keep doing, as opposed to what is happening in London, where the aggressive integration is leading to some serious transformative processes in the business and commerce sector. And that is something that we need to explore. Now, I am not one to compare London to Jamaica by any means, and this is really just my impatience with our slowness to adapt. So take that for what that is. But it was a really great conversation. Check that out. It is now on everywhere. Apple, Spotify, Google, anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can go check it out. And while you're there, please support the Digital Jamaica podcast. Subscribe, download the episodes, share, and leave a review. These things really help us to grow. We're trying to become number one in our category, which is technology in the Caribbean. So please help us do that, okay? Another quick update for you guys is that we have the monetization bootcamp coming up now. A part of what we're going to talk about in the take segment is about, creatives and their contractual obligations to their client, and some of the things that they should be asking for, that they should have in their contract, that they don't, and it can lead them into messes like what happened with these people over the weekend. So a part of what we made sure we did in this monetization bootcamp was have an attorney who's going to be instructing on what clauses you're supposed to have in your contract, what does a standard contract, what a standard contract should look like. She's also going to be talking about how do you protect your brand and your intellectual property and your content. So you can sign up for that workshop by itself. In fact, we have 6 workshops and you can sign up for any 6 of them by themselves, or you can get the bundle and that gives you an extra free day where you get 2 extra workshops for free. All right. And we have teamed up with some of the 6 Jamaicans who have been very successful in monetizing their brands, and they're basically going to come and teach you how to do it. So if you want to sign up for that, you go to our website, Digital Disruption Agency /monetization bootcamp, and you'll find a breakdown of all the sessions, what you learn, who the trainers are, etc. And you can even pay for your workshops online. Okay, that's awesome. All right. So Monique, I think that was all the
updates for today.
The updates we have for now. So let's jump into it. So over the weekend, yeah.
Yes, girl.
Over the weekend, some foolishness was happening.
Why you have to preface it so good, yeah?
Yeah, some foolishness was happening on Beyonce's internet.
Yeah.
And we wanted to adjust it because, guys, this is a part of what we do. When we see something and we think, okay, well, this is definitely a teachable moment, let us, put it out there and have the conversation so we all can be educated about it. So Denique, who's a dancehall artist, did a photo shoot. It was amazing. It looked great.
Yes.
Of course, she was styled by the great bootleg rock star.
Big up yourself, Nico. Anyway.
Big up himself, Nico. You know he was going to bring the sauce.
Yes.
And he did. In fact, that entire thing, I mean, from what she put out, the pictures, amazing, beautiful, well done, well photographed, set direction, everything proper.
Yes.
And if it's one thing Denique is known for, is taking really good pictures. No shade. But she's known for taking really good pictures. I mean, she's a nice looking lady. She's known for taking good pictures. But she posted the photographs without crediting the photographer. In the first instance.
Yes. There was no mention of the photographer.
No mention of the photographer. She tagged the hell out of the other team members.
Everybody
don't put the person who will bring out water.
The person who did her nails.
Yeah, everybody got tagged, and that's awesome. Because if it's the one thing we should know, and this is social media etiquette 101, Monique, you have to credit people for their work. And it is good social media etiquette to credit people for their work. And Monique, how do you credit people for their work on social media?
You tag them.
You tag them. So Nico, and we're only going by what Denique said in her 20-minute expletive-filled YouTube rant.
It was an IGTV. It was an Instagram live. Sorry, it was an Instagram live. But
I saw it on YouTube.
But, people, downloaded it and.
No, it's what is very funny to me when uptown people try to sound
relatable, down to earth, Jamaica.
Because it was when she went into the Jamaica, I was like, "Ooh, girl, no, honey,
do not pass go.
Stop, heartbreak." But anyways, so she said Nico called her and said, "So how come?" Nico called her and said, "Hey, you forgot to tag the photographer."
Yeah,
and she said, "Cool oversight. I did not realize." I didn't tag the photographer, but tagged everybody else. So she went in and she didn't tag the photographer, but she credited the photographer. So basically what she did was, under the post, she said photographed by Ryan Mattis, but she didn't tag his social media page.
Yeah.
Ryan has a problem with that
Yes.
because Ryan is saying it's the least you could have done was to tag. You didn't even credit me in the first place, but I guess you fixed that. But the least you can do is tag a brother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just tag a brother.
I think it was, first of all, before we even go into anything else, the first instance or issue or whatever is the fact that there was no mention of him at all. Because even if you have a problem, and if we were starting from this point, as in the first post was his name was there, but he wasn't tagged, maybe she would have a fingernail or a toe point to stand on. Yeah. Should I have something, because at least there was some sort of consideration given, or what she said would have kind of make sense. At least the logic of it would have made sense. But being that out the gate, you completely obscured and did not include them at all. Obviously, there is some sort of beef or something deeper going on why you decided that you did not want to include this artist at all in your.
But she said it. She said that he was ignoring her team. So they took the photographs and the team was messaging him saying they wanted some changes to be made, etc.
Oh, before we go there, it was that he decided which images to edit.
Okay, yeah. That's what she
so
said.
he chose the
images.
Whereas normally, and you and I even know this as people who have done a photo shoot before, the photographer takes the photos and normally shares it with you for you to select the best photos or the ones that you want based on the different things you're doing.
But if I remember in her rant correctly, she said they've worked together before, and she also admitted that she loved them. She did a good job choosing them. She didn't have a problem with. So she mentioned that he chose them. I guess what it sounds like to me is that she's trying to add up his things. She's trying to list all these things, but she liked them. She loved what he chose, and she loved what he did. The problem was, if I'm understanding correctly, she wanted a particular type of edit to be done to the photograph. Yeah. And he responded to her team to say, hey, I don't do this kind of edit. If I edit it anymore, she's going to look plastic. And I don't, that's the look you guys are going for. But if that's the look you guys are going for, no, he said he doesn't do that kind of editing. He can send them the raw and they can do that, but he's not going to do that. But then she's saying that he didn't want to send them the raw, but in the message that he posted from his WhatsApp, it was very clearly stated in there that he said, I can send you guys the raw if you want, but I don't do that kind of editing. Right.
And as a part of that message too, what he was saying was, if you wanted that look, because different photographers have different looks and different eye, go with that photographer. Don't come to me who offers a particular aesthetic and then try to send me another photographer's work and tell me do it like this.
Yeah.
Because if I was supposed to do it like that from the get-go, I would have done different lighting, I'd have done different camera positioning, I'd have done different whatever in order to achieve that look. You can't get that look post now without it looking kind of funky.
Yeah. So I agree with him though. I agree with him though.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there was some kind of conversation that happened beforehand about what the direction of the shoot was going to be. Because if that is the case, and the Jamaican Mermaid said Denique, the artist Denique, and a photographer Ryan Mattis, okay? So I'm wondering if there was some kind of direction, which is why he chose the photos and which is why he edited in the way he edited it. Because to be quite honest, if there was an agreed direction, and this is what the director said, I want, this is the look we're going for, and as a photographer, have that assignment.
Yes.
What's the problem? So anyway,
I'm still looking for a problem
I'm still looking for a
of them.
problem. So then she went on and said, and this is why I said she kept adding to his list of sins. It's like people, she's trying to justify the fact that she didn't tag him, but in order to make him look really bad and to make her look not so bad, she kept finding things to add to his list of sins. So then she went on to say, I heard that he wasn't great to work with. I've heard people complain, but because he's my friend, I wanted to work with him because he's my friend.
Yeah.
So he's your friend. And you wanted to work with him and you've worked with him before and your experience was different from what you heard people say. Yeah. But now that you have an issue with him, you're going to bring up that, other people say that he's bad. But I didn't listen to them because they're my friend. But now I understand what they're talking about. And that's why I didn't tag him, because tagging somebody is how I recommend them. No, that's not how tags work on social media. You don't tag somebody necessarily to recommend them. You tag someone to credit them. And I thought Denise was a social media savvy person, but she may need to have a professional manager social media, because nowhere is a tag a recommendation. I'm just gonna flat out say no. A tag is not social media. That's not how tags work. Yeah, when you tag somebody, you're crediting them for the work that they're doing because you're supposed to. All right. Out of etiquette, and because you don't want a situation where your brand gets tarnished because you're not crediting, because that's a major thing happening on social media. If you guys know about TikTok and what has been happening in TikTok, where black creators are striking because their work is being taken over by other white creators, they're not being credited, and then the white creators are making money off of the work, and they're
getting featured and carried on shows and getting paid and deals.
Exactly. Morning, Kenardo. Now, even if you have already paid the creative, even if you've already paid them, the socially acceptable thing to do is still to tag that creator, because regardless of what happened behind the scenes, you clearly like the photos because you're using them.
Yeah.
So, and if you're going to credit him anyway, why not just tag him, because you're crediting him anyway. But let's go quickly because our guests are finally here. Okay. But this is what she was so contradictory, money, because I watched that video like twice. And on the one hand, she's like, I love the work you're doing, it's great, but I wouldn't recommend you. If the guy's work is good, why wouldn't you recommend him? Because
there is personal beef.
There's an attitude there which did not prevent you from working with him in the first place, because according to you knew he was unprofessional because you heard it, people were saying it, but you still chose to work with him, and then come and say, I'm not recommending you because you're unprofessional. I'm like, make it make sense. But the legal part of this, and this is what I need people to understand, because I hear people commenting about it, he still owns the photographs. The photographs are not hers. Whether she pay him $50 million for it or $1, he retains the rights to those photographs as the photographer. And that's what a lot of people don't know. The photographer retains the rights to the photograph, and that's the law. So no, she don't have to tag him. She does not have to tag him. But yes, she definitely has to credit him for the photograph, which is why newspapers, magazines, anybody that you see, if you're submitting something to them and you're submitting a photo, the first thing they say to you is, who took the photo? Because they are obligated by law to credit the photographer, even if you've already paid them for the work.
Even if it was a selfie you took on your phone camera.
Even if Kid Francis took a selfie of Monique, if Monique is going to submit that to any kind of media outlet, you have to say photo taken by Kid Francis. That's how it works. But guys, it is just good social media practice that when you are sharing a creative's work, you tag them, and it looks very suspect that you tag everybody else except the photographer, you left him out complete in the first place. Then you come back and say, all right, I'm put his name in here, but he didn't. If it was not intentional money, why didn't you tag him after Nika called you and said you left him out? Why not just add a tag? It's easier to just add the tag.
Yeah.
If it wasn't an intentional or deliberate oversight, why then be petty about it and then come back and not tag him?
It was obviously petty.
It was petty. And then what got me was that people are trying to explain that to her, and she was blocking everybody and telling people how much string make them up and come off our page. And I'm like, oh no. And there was a child there. She had the baby there the entire time. Right? So I'm like, you're here swearing and carrying on, and then she moved out of the swearing and carrying on to mommy mode, and then she's back into the swearing and carrying on. I was like, there's a disconnect, boo. I don't understand. But, I guess. What's your take? That's my take. I think she's contrary. I think she did it on purpose. Something went wrong. Either she didn't like how he said it or what, and she decided that she was not going to. Because she said her team told her that she shouldn't be taking it lying down. She's standing up for herself. There's a way to stand up for yourself, and there's a way to be a bully online. And I guess this reeks of bully to me. And then she was talking about cloud chasing, and I'm like,
please note.
Cloud chasing who?
Please note though that this is all around her new album launch, the photos and everything. She's dropping an album. All right. So everything going to make sense. Okay, she's dropping an album. The single or the lead single or whatever, it has already been released. And so the photo shoot was all around images and stuff for her album release and for all of that. And the PR and stuff. So literally the photos were used in the papers over the weekend. All of that. It was a part of a whole campaign. So I'm not shocked. This could be very much PR. Danica and Ryan could be kicking, be in the background, loving each other right now. So yeah. But separate and apart from that, though, in terms of the circumstance or situation, even if it was a situation where you vehemently decided you're not tagging this person or whatever, the fact that she excluded him totally out of the original post just shows, say, this is not some bad mind or some dirty heart business you're going with. And so, yeah. You can't come now and try to make things seem as if everything is all bright and dandy when not so.
And a tag is not a recommendation, because she kept saying that and it was just annoying me. A tag is not a recommendation. A tag is another form of credit. That's how you credit people on social media. Okay, guys. So whenever you are whenever you submit your work to any media platform, ensure that they tag you as a way of crediting you, because guys, crediting somebody is social currency. It gets them reach. Okay, it brings new audience to their platform, and if it is that you love the work that you did, you can still credit the person and still share your experience about what that person was like. So you give people a fuller understanding of what this thing is, so they can make a better decision.
Oh, but not just that. You just not use him again. Just post it and move on. The photos were great, but just don't use him again. Your money talk louder than anything else. And if you have a consistent and constant team where you use the same hairstylist, the same photographer, the same stylist, the same nail person, and then one day the photographer change, the industry knows, the makeup artists know, and the people who should know just say, yo, XYZ is a big diva and him lose out pandemic. It would have, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought you could have handled it better. The cussing and the swearing and the running people and the shut your mouth and the listening, it didn't make you look any better. It made you look like you were the problem. Because that's all I thought. The carrying on that she did made it look like she was the problem to begin with. So her coming on to defend herself to say I'm not the problem and behaving that way made me think, okay, well maybe you're the problem. You know. But guys, there are two things. Quickly, one of our presenters, he's setting up his camera. He'll be on shortly, so we're gonna go into that segment shortly. But two things, guys, in your contracts, and I'm not sure if there's a contract between the parties. Always make sure that in that contract you have a clause that gives you the right to publish your work as a part of your portfolio. That gives you the right to exhibit your work. That gives you the right to submit your work in competitions, right? Because you want to maintain that so a client can't say, well, you can't show my work anywhere. You can't show. You always make sure that that clause is in your contract. And if a client is having issues with that, if there's no reasonable basis for them to have an issue with that, you might want to walk away. All right? You might
to cost or price it differently.
Exactly.
Because it means that I cannot exhibit or show it somewhere, and this is a part of how I get other clients as well, then I may charge you more, you know. So it doesn't mean that we won't work together, but it helps prepare, and both parties will understand what the other wants.
Yeah, and another clause that should be in your contract is that in another clause you should clearly state what they're paying for. That is something I don't see a lot of creatives do, where you are literally saying, okay, if you pay me this amount, this is what you're going to get.
I'm gonna do.
Because then she was complaining that he chose the photos and he never edits a particular way. In the contract, it has to be clear what the scope of the work is and what the end product is going to be. So everybody is absolutely clear. And
everybody agrees.
And we can avoid all of this mess, because it just never looked good. And I think a lot more education needs to be done in the creative space for us to know what our rights are, so we can protect those rights, right? And we can avoid drama and foolishness, because it still don't look good on him. It didn't look good on him either, but to be quite honest, he didn't post an IGTV video cussing and chasing people. So again, at the end of the day, if she was trying to defend herself, she came off looking real funny. Just saying. All right, guys. Next up is our technically speaking. What just happened? Our technically speaking segment, guys. Yes, and we are going to be talking to Trevor Forrest. We're going to be talking to Trevor Forrest, Varun Baker, and Donald Porter. And they're going to be talking to us about blockchain, breaking it down into its most simplest form, so that newbies like me and you and Monique understand what this thing is. And again, it's all about having more information so we can make a more informed decision. So when we come back, we're going to welcome Donald, Trevor, and Varun. All right, guys. So Trevor Forrest. Hi, Trevor. Good morning. He is the CEO of 876 Technology Solutions. We have Donald Porter. Donald just about everything. Beachfront Crypto. He's a dev for Hive. He does things on Peaked. We need to talk about Peaked now, because I think that's very interesting. And once Varun gets his camera thing set up, we're going to go over to Varun. So, guys, welcome to the Digital Jamaica Live Show.
Trevor, you're muted. Awesome.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Can you hear me good? Or
we're hearing you perfectly. This is great. All right, so we're going to do a quick recap of the Twitter Spaces, the disastrous Twitter Spaces that happened last week, Thursday. And Trevor, if you could quickly, because you said so many things that was like, oh, to me. But can you quickly explain what blockchain is and how it works in the most layman 8-year-old way? You're talking to 8-year-olds.
Yes,
how would you explain blockchain to a class of 8-year-olds?
Wow. I don't know about the 8-year-old thing. No, but really, blockchain technology or blockchain is really a very special ledger of transactions. So, much the same way you have a ledger, this big book that you write all transactions in, or you store your transaction in an Excel spreadsheet or in a database. Blockchain is very much like that, except it has some very special features and capabilities. And all it's meant to do is to keep track of transactions that occur in the digital space. And it does so in a very secure way. It does so in a distributed fashion, because what it does is it relies on a network of peer-to-peer connected computers that all have a copy of that ledger, to make sure that the transactions are stored safely, stored securely, stored in a robust and distributed way. And that's really the key aspect of what the blockchain is. Oftentimes, they use the term distributed ledger technology, and blockchain falls within that category of distributed ledger technology. And they use the term distributed because that ledger is stored across multiple hundreds, sometimes thousands of machines, so that there is a whole level of redundancy and robustness to it. Obviously, because when you're talking about doing transactions, it's very helpful to have your transactions stored in more than one place. And finally, it's very secure. And I think that is the linchpin aspect of blockchain, which makes it so special, is how it stores those transactions in that ledger. And I think, without getting too technical, I think that is one of the key aspects of what makes blockchain so important and so special. It's how it goes about securely recording all the transactions that are done by the systems that sit on top of it. Is that 8-year-old enough?
I think I got it. I think I understand it. But I'm always reading up about this, and I was looking, and I hear them talk about blockchain miners and nonce, and how they actually track these systems. So apparently, it's like every time something is generated, and I say something because I'm not sure, because we may be talking about Bitcoin or something else, and numbers assigned. Is that how it is? And then that's what is called a nonce, because that number can only be assigned once.
All right, so getting into the slightly more.
I'm getting into technical.
Yeah, we've passed 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
Let's not pass go, as Money said. Let's not pass go.
Well, I mean, I think that all you need to really understand is that every time a transaction occurs, everybody on the network, or all the computers on the network, agree that the transaction is valid.
Yeah.
Once they agree that the transaction is valid, a block is created to represent that transaction.
Yes.
And the important thing about that block is that it is inextricably tied to the block before it, and any following transaction is tied to the block in front of it. Now, this is
that's hence blockchain.
Exactly.
Right.
The name comes from its structure, in which individual records called blocks are linked together in a single list or a chain. That's the simplest one sentence explanation. Yes.
Yeah, that linkage is extremely secure because it is created using very sophisticated cryptographic algorithms that generate these very long numbers that tie one block to
to
another.
another block, and that's where the miners come in.
Well,
Yes.
the miners,
Because it's their job to keep that.
well, the miners,
efficiency.
what they do is they are part of that network of computers.
Right.
What they're doing is they're actually participating in a very unique way. They're trying to solve a particular mathematical problem
Right.
that allows the transactions to be validated, and their incentive is once they solve that problem,
They get Bitcoin.
they get
A
currency.
piece.
Currency.
Yes.
Okay.
They get
So-
a piece.
So Donald, you were saying about the chain and the thing.
Yes. I mean, it's what you. I think what you were referring to was a hash, right? So each transaction would have a hash, which is considered a transaction ID, like
Yeah.
PayPal, a receipt, or anything else. They all have a transaction ID. So
Yeah.
as Trevor was stating, the very next transaction uses that hash or transaction ID from the last one within the next. So it's almost impossible for another entity, once they're all confirmed by thousands, millions of devices, for another entity to add a new record into that chain and match these hashes due to the complex algorithms and computations that the devices have to do while mining to solve the equation, as Trevor stated, right? So
Okay.
in the background, miners keep track of everything, but also that's where the hashes are generated and linked and continuously so forth, right? So Bitcoin in particular uses SHA-256 hash function. There's many different hash functions and encryptions, and that's where the cryptography comes in, right? So crypto and cryptography itself is a somewhat of a separate entity from blockchain, but once you combine cryptography, chain structured data, record of data, and decentralized application, that's where you get Bitcoin or blockchain or any other cryptocurrency, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. And but Varun, I think you're muted. Can you unmute?
Yeah.
So Varun, you actually use blockchain as part of Farm Credibly.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
use this blockchain technology, and I think if I'm understanding it correctly, you use this blockchain technology to help farmers become credit worthy in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And so in my conversations with farmers and stakeholders in the agricultural sector, to be honest, no one cares about blockchain. No one cares about the technology in the sense that of how it works. So I prefer to talk more about why. You know, it's not about how and the nonce and the minors so much. It's about, I mean, I can explain that, but if I do, I try to do it in very clear terms. So
Yeah.
I like to think of this as people have said, it's a ledger. So it's really more like how we're familiar with group text messages. It's a lot more useful to think of this change in how we're storing information as being similar to the change in how we're communicating with group text messages, right?
Yeah.
So I often say, well, like we said, to be blockchain, it needs to be three things: an immutable distributed ledger, right? Three kind of complex words, but when we say immutable, it just means it's very tamper-proof. It's hard to crack. It's hard to falsify information. So when we're talking about cryptography, all of that, that's where that comes in. So immutable, if anyone's ever been in a group text message and sent the wrong thing or said something they didn't want to say, and then you want to delete it or make sure no one else sees it, it's actually very hard because it would have already appeared on other people's phones, etc. So that's why you can think of immutability in this way around group text messages. It's also distributed, or group text messages are distributed, right? Because if I'm in a group chat with you guys and I throw my phone away or it falls in the swimming pool and no longer works, the chat still exists, right? And I may have to buy a new phone and try to get back the same number, or even a new SIM and get back access to it. But the chat still lives independent of me and my specific device. And then, of course, it's a ledger because you have a running record of chat history. Right?
Transaction.
They're all
Okay.
time stamped, and it's all right there. So it's a distributed, immutable ledger, and that's it. That's all you have to appreciate to understand blockchain, right?
Okay.
And what's more significant to me is the why, and the why is what's propelling this conversation right now, and why so many people are interested in this conversation, because it's about what the technology can do and how this can really transform the ways we do even very simple things like exchanging money. And
Yeah.
so that's why this is so powerful. It's really about the why.
And I think
Okay.
too, the work that you're doing, Varun, because in many cases we don't readily marry agriculture, something that's so historical and a part of legacy, and you eat, hunter gatherer, with with cutting edge technology and innovation. And I think it's so important for us to overlap and to marry those spaces, especially those that we don't traditionally instantly recognize as a part of this conversation, and show how it actually works in a real live situation beyond earning a buck and going into establishing a history and a track record to allow me to get credit, to allow me to grow and build my business as a business, not a hustle, not me sell £10 or something today and then zero tomorrow, but a business.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Monique. I'm glad you brought that up. And it's not only significant from the point of view of a business or a farmer who wants to operate as a business, but even, like you said, all of us eat, right? Even if I go to Coronation Market and I pick up a mango, wouldn't it be that much better if I could know exactly where that mango came from, or so we're all.
I never read, you go read it for one tree, you're buying,
you buy it because it comes from
yeah.
a specific place in St. Thomas that grows it under these conditions. No chemical, pesticides,
Organic is really organic.
That's it. And it's verifiable and trustworthy. That's the big value that's being brought to the table here, and what we're looking at.
And that's what blockchain brings to
the table.
Pretty much. And that's from a product line point of view, but also I like to look at it as it's a disruption, but it's not the end, right? So, for example, you mentioned email. Blockchain does to databases and traditional record technology, which includes banks, of course, what email did to the post office. If that, it's not going to change everything, but it makes most of the smaller things a lot easier to do, right? That's like the best analogy I can use. It's a paradigm
really
shift.
Good
also.
Analogy. Yeah.
I was on the internet because prior to blockchain, there was no way to prove ownership of anything, right? So that's also where NFTs come in, non-fungible tokens.
Yeah, and I want to move to that aspect. I want to just stick up in right there and talk about ownership, because that's really important when we start talking about, as you said, NFTs, but also when we start talking about cryptocurrency. Because the ability to track this thing to make sure that it's legit, right, is where the blockchain comes in. So can we then switch over to cryptocurrency, and again, layman explanation as to what cryptocurrency is and what role blockchain played in the emergence of cryptocurrency?
Well, cryptocurrencies generally are just a way to keep track of data, right? For example, with Bitcoin, it's you're keeping track of financial data. How many Bitcoins does one person have? And it really only keeps track of who sent what to whom, when, and who confirmed the transaction. That's it, right. So that's why Bitcoin just keeps it as simple as possible. But there are other blockchains, for example, like Ethereum, which was the first attempt at a distributed operating system, so to speak, where you could do simple computer computations called smart contracts, run simple programs, even games on Ethereum, right? But it's still based on the same blockchain technology. And the Ethereum cryptocurrency is what keeps track of who has what, governance, and many other aspects of the actual chain itself. So a cryptocurrency intrinsically has zero value except for what value people give to it. And I always like to say, especially to avoid risk, is to only involve yourself or use cryptocurrencies that you actually have a use for, right? So unless you're trying to make gains from trading, you shouldn't be investing or purchasing cryptocurrencies that have no daily or at least weekly or monthly use for yourself. For example, Varun's project is for farmers, right? So they will have a use for it. Outside investors will also, maybe speculate on that use. So that's where the value of the cryptocurrency comes from. Without an actual use and speculation, then there's no actual value. So the term currency is kind of added to it. It's a gray area nowadays. It wasn't before, because prior most blockchains had some financial aspect to it. When now today there are blockchains like Decentraland, which is like, I don't know if you have kids that play like Roblox or Minecraft. It's a game built on a blockchain, right? So today the tech is still used for keeping track of data transactions, but the data transactions have gone far beyond just financial, right? Just this monetary data. So in cryptocurrency is the currency that's used on a particular blockchain to keep track and govern and pretty much that's like the simplest way I can put it on that particular chain.
So it's not used like money. It's not money. It's not a form of money. It's not virtual money, because when you think cryptocurrency, you automatically
it's a virtual store of value, right? Which does not necessarily mean money. So yes, Bitcoin does predominantly transact financial data, but that data isn't necessarily money, right? The other layers of Bitcoin, for example, if you're transacting in Satoshis, you could use that minute value to send cryptographic messages to someone else and spend little to no money, right? That is right. So even though it's predominantly used to keep track of currencies, value, etc., that is not its actual main use. It's the data, and the underlying data on Bitcoin, for this example, is currency and value, but it's not money. There's a definite difference between money, currency, and value, right? Currency is what we transact. Value is what we give to something. Money is the hardest one to explain out of all of them. So that's why Bitcoin.
So if
please help me, Trevor. Maybe you could help me with this here.
So this thing, right? Everybody's familiar with this.
Yes.
This is $100 bill. It's printed on a piece of paper. The only reason this has value is because some authority, either a government or a central bank, says it does. Other than that, it's a piece of paper.
It's a piece of paper. Okay.
Now, we for decades and centuries have lived in a realm where this thing is used to exchange
goods and services
and store value. So
yes.
Now the thing about it is we've gotten to a point where this thing, this piece of paper, just like documents in a hospital or in a insurance company or in a bank, paper has gotten obsolete. So how do you now take this and transact in the same way, but do so in an entirely digital realm, right? How do you ascribe value to something you can't see
physically
or touch.
and is not bound by the paper because
Because this is what people trust. This is what gives people the warm and fuzzy. Something I can touch, feel, give to somebody. When I go to the bank, that's why I have lines outside the bank. When I go to the bank, I can take my Kyle and give to somebody, and I say, yes, I gave you my money. If something happened to it, I'm coming back and asking you what you do with my money.
Yeah.
How do we now go from this to transactions in an entirely digital realm where this does not exist?
Yeah.
It's something that will allow you to maintain the same level of trust, maintain the same level of warm and fuzzy, maintain the same level of security. Right? That thing is called digital currency. Right? Now, digital currencies exist in many forms. Blockchain underpins the majority of digital currencies, but cryptocurrency is just one form of digital currency. Right? So you have central bank digital currencies, which are emerging. Those are the currencies that are backed and endorsed by governments and central banks. You have virtual currencies that are created and issued by private entities.
Like Apple Pay and Google Pay, etc.
Private entities. Then you have cryptocurrencies, which is another form of digital currency. And by the way, virtual currencies are not regulated. They're not controlled by any bank or any government. And that in itself, along with things like cryptocurrencies, is what always creates the angst, but also it fuels arguments of fear and an uncertainty and doubt for detractors of cryptocurrency, because we have been trained to function a particular way. If it don't look like this, it can't work.
There's another thing, Trevor, and I want you to continue, but this came to me while you were talking, right? A part of the confusion is a physical dollar bill takes away some of the confusing maths that happens in the background, because we have things like inflation. 10 years ago, your $100 could have buy 5 patty because it was $20 for a patty. In 2021, you need 2 of those $100 to buy the patty.
To buy one patty.
One patty. However, convert that and twist it up, the mental acrobatics that's required to try and figure out, okay, how did this single thing that could have bought 5 of that at this point in time can only buy half of that today? But I don't have the luxury or the security of the hard $100 in my pocket.
Right. And by saying that,
here's the thing. Can I just add one thing to what Monique just said? When you purchase the 5 patties, they give you a receipt, right? And you take that receipt. I mean, Juicy, Mothers, they take that receipt.
Tasty.
Tasty. You take that receipt and you go wait on the side, and then the server collects everything for you and gives it to you, provided you have that receipt. That receipt could be considered a token, right? So most cryptocurrencies are tokens because you paid $5 or you paid for 5 patties. You received this token that you could either collect your patties now or save them for a later day, come back to Tasty tomorrow and maybe collect them, or send staff the next week. And theoretically, right?
You could give it to somebody else. You could hand it to somebody else.
Exactly.
And
or someone else could
collect
purchase
the 5
it from you. Someone else could purchase from you and they could collect the 5 patties. So Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies in most senses act like this token, the receipt in the middle of that. So it's not the money that you paid for the patties. It's not the patties themselves. It's the token that allows you to redeem them later.
And that is the key thing.
And that token can be traded. Yes.
Right. And that's
exactly.
Because it is an exchange, and I often say this as my pitch line for blockchain technology. it will do for value exchange what the internet did for information exchange. Fundamentally, it lowers that up because, again, what Monique spoke to and what Donald has talked to is, again, a fundamental shift in the way we look at doing things. Yeah. All we're talking about happens in a real realm. Paper. How do you do that now when you have no paper and suppose
central authority issuing the paper.
No banks. Yeah, suppose there are no banks.
Exactly.
How do you facilitate transactions in that kind of way that you still maintain the trust, you still maintain the transparency, you still ensure that transactions can occur between two individuals who don't know each other, don't trust each other, but don't need to, because what happens in between ensures that either party will get what they need. This is what blockchain technology does. And on top of that, you have cryptocurrencies, which function as a new way of transacting business in an extremely frictionless way without the need for a whole bunch of
middlemen. Okay, because as Monique will say that at every turn that middleman get a cut.
Exactly, and that contributes to the cost of the good. So when you look at all of the applications of a technology like blockchain, all of the applications of cryptocurrency, when you look at the work Varun has been doing with Farm Credibly, one of the things that always comes out of that is hyper efficiency and low cost. Because what you're doing now is you're establishing an entirely new way of doing things in an extremely efficient, trustworthy, and low cost way. When you look at what the central banks are attempting to do with central bank digital currency, what they're doing is trying to alleviate the load of managing this, because they have to drive around with them thing and bring stock and all them something. They put them in a vault and say, when you go digital, this goes away. So all the fees you pay, all the time it takes,
the cost
and the risk associated,
and the risk, the cash.
The man them who drive in that truck, they see them big gun.
Right. So that's a good point, Monique, and risk as well. And is it true, guys? And Varun can jump in here and let me know too. Is a part of this, because I know, Varun, a part of what you're doing with the use of blockchain technology is try to bring, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, farmers into a formal sector, a more formal business sector, because now that they have assets and they can trace assets and stuff like that, they can now get a loan. And once you can get a loan from a bank, you're formal. The act of getting a loan from a bank formalizes you and your business. So is that one of the reasons why you chose to go that route? Is that one of the I guess I can say the pluses for using blockchain technology is that it now brings people into a more formal sector. Oh, Varun got, oh no.
Ouch.
Oh Lord. So Trevor, I guess you can help me. Is that one of the things with blockchain, that you can now bring people into a more formalized sector and have more people participate in a formal sector if you have like a CBDC?
Right. So again, blockchain is the underlying technology.
Yes.
What sits on top of it, in this case, the cryptocurrencies, the virtual currencies, or the CBDCs, and Varun is back, is what it's now a mechanism for bringing people into a new way of transacting business. You can remember, a lot of people who don't have their money in a bank and have their money under their mattress and so on, it's because they don't trust that system, right? You literally have people that go to the bank just to check if their money is there.
Yeah, man, withdraw $1.
Yeah, it's a trust thing. So
yes.
Yeah, they do. In fact, I was made aware of a statistic, a report that was done that said that in Jamaica, the majority of people who store their money under them bed and not in the bank is confined to a single parish. I'm not going to call the parish name, but there is a particular parish where that practice is predominant, right? So one of the things that it does is it says, look, I understand you might not trust the banking system, but when you don't have this, how you gonna work? Here is a way for you to conduct business, transact. When partner need for throw and there's no paper, how you do that digitally,
Yeah.
right? So you need to have a platform and a system that still engenders the trust and all of that to facilitate that. So and Varun can jump in here.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I think I missed the question, Kadia, because
So I wanted to find out because and I'm glad Trevor came up because Trevor was like, blockchain is the underlying technology and there are things that sits on top of that. So I wanted to find out from you if a part of the reason why you choose to use this technology in this particular kind of way, because as Monique said earlier, you don't usually see the marriage between agrarian culture with tech, right? Because one is so traditional, as Monique said, where you till the soil, you do whatever you do, you plant your food, you get the food. So I know there's a marriage between these two. We see it in aquaponics and all sorts of excitement going on there. But for you, in coming up with the idea for Farm Credibly, was a part of it you're trying to get farmers into a more formal sector where they now have access to whatever obtains in that sector, so bank loans, there's a sort of legitimacy that is now added to them as a legitimate business.
Yeah, absolutely, Kadia. You got it. So it's all about building trust. The challenge for a lot of farmers is in building that trust. For example, with a bank, when they walk in, how do they actually show that they are creditworthy and can be trusted with a loan? Right now, it's typically very challenging. But at the same time, there are legitimate farmers out there doing good business who do more business with access to capital. And so we're really set on identifying these opportunities and then finding finance to actually help grow people's business. But when you talk about trust generally, yes, why I'm attracted to the agricultural sector with the use of this technology is because agricultural markets typically operate with very low levels of trust. And so building things on top of blockchain allows for a very different way of doing things. For example, like we were saying earlier, right? People trust that this money because it was issued by the government. Or for farmers, for example, there is an interesting relationship often with the government where there can be a lack of trust at times, right? And having a group text message, to go back to the analogy, to share information in is advantageous to something that, for example, depends on the government, where you don't know if when you put information in here, if it'll stay that way, if it'll get ignored, tampered with, etc. You have no power where that comes in. Whereas if you use a different type of technology, suddenly you are as privy as anyone else is to this information, right? In the group text message, you may not know everyone may not be in your address book. So for those transactions, you're just seeing numbers. But if you know the person as a contact, you can see their name, right? And so there is a level of transparency and there's a level of trust building. For farmers, when they make a sale, for example, very often it takes a long time to get paid, whether it's to a hotel or a supermarket. In fact, people are quite oblivious to how much this takes place. And what effectively is happening is farmers themselves are the biggest issuers of credit in the ecosystem. They're actually lending to the supermarket, etc. But yet, when I buy something from the supermarket, I can't walk out with my bags full and say,
hey, 15 days, 30 days.
So using this technology suddenly allows for new models of financing, whether it's supply chain financing, so that the farmer makes the sale but can receive instant payout, so that he can put that money back, he or she can put that money back into their farm.
Let me give you.
Before you jump in, Trevor, we have two final things I need to talk about before we end this segment. Does NFTs work the same way cryptocurrency works in terms of the tracking part? Because I know Donald was talking about, this is how you track and the story and value, etc. And I know that for some, I don't know if it's for all, but I know for some NFTs, they're also run on the blockchain.
So Others can chime in, but to go back to the point Donald made earlier, right? These tokens, which NFT is just a type of token,
Yeah.
just a receipt. Essentially, what we're talking about is a receipt for an exchange of value.
Right.
All that's happening, what we're observing with NFTs is just that the creators in our ecosystem are using this technology a lot more for the things that they're creating, which is artwork.
Right.
But
So
that
this
can
is just
work.
another way of using that technology to exchange something of
Create a
value.
receipt. Yeah, to create a receipt.
In a layman's sense, and anybody can correct me, this is like in the olden days when you used to buy shares and you get a share certificate, and whoever hold the share certificate, or you buy a house and you get the title, and whoever hold the title
Holds it.
own the house. I just
Pretty
have to
much
make it make
secure it
sense.
online.
I just have to make it convert it so that it makes sense to me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and
All
that,
right.
and that, funnily enough, and I want to give you two instances that ties back to NFTs and the value it has for creatives and artists. But let me start with one. Blockchain technology has an application in identity management, right? And I know Katia likes controversial topics. So here's the thing. National identity, right? One of the things that causes Jamaican people to have the heebie-jeebies about national identity and providing the information to the government is that they don't know what's going to happen to that information after they give it to the government.
Absolutely.
Except apart from the fact that they give it to Facebook and Google.
So that's what I'm saying. So they say.
But what if there was a way that if you gave your information to government, anytime somebody did something with it, even peep on it, you knew, right? And it is done in such a way that even when them peep on it, them can do something to remove the fact that them look on it, right? Okay. Yeah? Ledger of transactions. Blockchain-based identity management systems facilitate the ability for people to know what is happening in that system, and it allows them to garner greater trust. So that's the first thing. The second, and this again ties back now to NFTs, because one of the biggest problems artists have is when they create something. This is not only paintings, this is musicians. When they create something and they sell it to somebody, after I buy that piece of painting or music from that person, and I buy it for $1,000, if somebody comes into my office and says, "Boy, me give $15,000 for that painting," I get $15,000. The artist doesn't. The artist don't get them $1,000. With NFTs and doing this stuff in a digital realm underpinned by blockchain type technology, every time that asset, digital asset, changes hands, me, the creator, know about it, and I can get my cut. And that's the kind of...
Is that like royalties?
Yes,
but
it can
in a more managed way, right? And what that does is it ensures that my creation, when it goes out there into outer space, as it moves along its own journey, I get what I am due, right? Because that receipt is moving with it as well. And that's one of the important aspects of things like NFTs underpinned by blockchain, because you can see what is happening to your asset and ensure that you get the benefits that you ought to derive. So musicians, artists, all sorts of creatives, that's the underpinning advantage of the technology and the applications that sit on top of it in the market.
Okay, guys, so what are the risks associated with, well, it should be blockchain, because we've said over and over again that crypto and NFTs sit on top of the blockchain. This is just the underpinning technology. And I know that the BOJ has been issuing some warnings about cryptocurrency, and it's not stable, and it's not secure, and it's conflicting, because if the underlying technology is supposed to be secure, then wouldn't that be a conflicting statement to make? I'm not sure. But what are some of the risks associated with these kinds of technology, and what should Jamaicans look out for? Persons who want to either trade cryptocurrency, or creatives who want to, use NFT as another way of getting income for their creative output. What are the risks and what should we be looking out for?
Yeah, to just clarify something, what the Bank of Jamaica says out there is in relation to cryptocurrencies, not blockchain.
Yeah, right, cryptocurrency. So I'm saying if it sits on top of blockchain, and blockchain is supposed to be secure.
Yeah, so the technology is secure, but that doesn't mean what sits on top of it is all.
Okay.
So what the Bank of Jamaica is saying generally is that be mindful of what you do when you get involved in the cryptocurrency space.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about your money being your responsibility, that is how
the epitome
in that space. There is no JDIC or deposit insurance and so on. You are responsible for your money.
So
if you lose it, it is gone. You can't go cost nobody except yourself. As it relates to blockchain technology, blockchain is extremely secure. It is not unhackable, but it is extremely secure, and whenever the security is violated, all sorts of red flags go. So it's important to differentiate between the two. The other thing with cryptocurrencies from a risk standpoint, which again the detractors always like to move to, is because it's not regulated or backed by a central bank or government, you're on your own. The volatility of cryptocurrencies is extremely high. So where does Bitcoin get its value from? What's the tangible asset or thing that gives Bitcoin its value? These are all the things that many people. Yeah, but you know what's funny? Who gave this value?
We did.
Who gave this value? Right? It's no different, right? So somebody said this had value. Well, the market said it kind of value.
Well, Bitcoin uses a ton of electricity and energy to create. So that gives it value at the start. Mining is considered like gold mining because the lowest value you could ever give gold is what the miners would actually charge you for digging it up out of the earth wherever it is, right? So the lowest value you could ever get for gold is how much you could pay someone to dig it up for you. So Bitcoin, or crypto in a sense, has that same vibe. Like the lowest value Bitcoin will ever go to, theoretically, is how much it costs for someone to actually create one. And today it costs thousands of dollars for a miner to generate one single Bitcoin, right? So unlike the paper dollars that we just give value, it's called fiat money, faith, right? We give value to it because in most countries it's no longer backed by gold or any physical assets, right? Cryptocurrencies are those that follow a proof of work mechanism. I don't want to say it too complicated, but the security and underlying blockchain, and that's what makes sure that what happens on top is secured. But at the same time, who's creating the other layers of everything on top is what you need to be skeptical of when looking for scams, etc. Right? So like any business in any industry, I always like to say, because every now and then I host small Bitcoin and blockchain tech seminars here locally in Westmont. But what I always like to say is if you, like I said it before, if you can't use it, right, don't invest in it. And 95% of startup companies fail, right? And that goes for blockchain tech and every industry on earth, right? So it's no different with cryptocurrencies. You have to be very diligent with where you put your hard-earned money when it comes to any startup, regardless if it's on a blockchain, if it's a penny stock, if it's on a stock market, it's all pretty much the same. You just have to, in this case, the government, the Bank of Jamaica in particular, won't come to your help if everything falls out. right?
Okay, so what about NFTs?
That's I don't know how. Well, NFTs
In
are a
terms of
whole
the
new
risks, and
bargain,
what are some of the things we
and
should
they've
be
really
looking
only
at?
become. There's even more risk in NFTs than there is in just general in the general crypto space, right?
Right.
Everyone's an artist. I mean, everyone's an artist. Everyone sings in the shower. Everyone doodles here and there. It comes back down to the trust of the network and the blockchain and entities that say this particular NFT is the original. So it's still all back down to the tech, the blockchain tech, with the trust and the risk involved is usually human based, right?
Right.
Anyone could create an NFT, right? Anyone could create a website saying this NFT or these future NFTs are going to create value, right? Anyone could create a way of collecting for these NFTs, but when it actually is released, no one could tell you what value it will have, right? It's like buying a legendary album before it becomes legendary, right? So it's art. People always say artists are not art. The art doesn't become valuable until the artist passes
So
away.
it's speculative in a way where you're speculating
exactly, it's
what the value is
extremely
going to be, but it's really depending on the market response to that thing.
Exactly, but there are other use cases for NFTs, right? So, for example, in the game space, if you have a character that's on an NFT, you can, if there are other NFT enabled games, you could transfer your digital identity or this character, or this avatar, the history of this character, onto a new game by just transferring the NFT there, right? So there's all these different use cases of it, but the risk is always human based, right? The risk is not the technology. The risk is not exactly, right? There's
the who. Because I've seen a lot of crypto
exactly.
pages, Jamaican crypto pages and NFT pages popping up there.
So there's been at least 100 Jamaica-based cryptocurrencies and coins and projects. And out of many that I've personally, yes, there has. But they're so underground and they're so, let me use the word scammy, right? That once you see them, if you know the red flags to look for, you know these projects, you just need to stay away.
Red flags?
Right? And what
I'm asking about. What are the red flags?
Much like the same you would see with startup companies, right? That are looking for you to invest your funds, right? If you check Kickstarter or crowdfunding websites, it's the same nature of all right, so if you can't find use for it, why would you buy it, right? And if you can't see why someone else would find use for it, why would why would you invest your own money? And that goes for everything in the space. Yeah. NFTs, DeFi, cryptocurrencies, everything, right? So it comes back down to human risk.
Human risk. Last question. I can start with Varun on this one. Aside from cryptocurrency and NFTs, what are some other important uses of blockchain technologies? And I know, Varun, you're using it to kind of establish farmers so they can get access to credit. But what are some other real world uses of blockchain technology that could actually benefit the everyday person?
Right. So, I mean, honestly, there's so many. And to go back to your question around risks, what I want people to take away from this and understand is that blockchain technology is solid, really, really trustworthy stuff.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the internet, right? The internet is solid. It's a solid protocol, but it doesn't mean everything that on the internet is automatically trustworthy or automatically solid. So very much think about things this way. And in terms of opportunities, again, to look at the internet, it's almost as if it's hard for us to imagine. When we were in the 90s, for those of you who existed at that time, it was hard to imagine what Facebook would be doing now, right?
Yeah.
But it's the same internet that has existed then. It's, web pages have just evolved. So
become more sophisticated.
A lot of what excites me is really about, the fintech application, so financial technology. We're really seeing the ability to do things that literally were not possible before. So when Trevor talked about NFTs and being able to pay royalties that way, yes, that's one step. But then to take it a step further, if I sell a piece of art to somebody, I can create what's called a smart contract, so that if that person then sells the art again and again, the same artist can still receive payouts from it. And that's not necessarily possible right now, to track with certainty in a trustworthy way. So these are the ways that I'd like people to appreciate it and understand that 10 years from now, there are going to exist some things that we literally cannot think of right now. And
Right.
that's what's so tremendous about all of this.
Yeah, Trevor, what are some other real world uses of blockchain technology? Whether something you want to see happen or that is possible that can be of benefit to the everyday regular person?
Yeah, man. So let me kind of categorize it in a couple ways. So you have blockchain in obviously what we're talking about, digital currency. So global payment system, remittance, e-commerce. Blockchain can play a major role there. Blockchain can also play a major role in record keeping. So land titling, applications, healthcare, health records, intellectual property, which is what you kind of see in NFTs.
Yeah.
Voting systems and identity management.
Yes.
These interesting.
Blockchain again can play a critical component in the trustworthiness, the immutability, and so on in these kinds of environments.
Yeah.
Supply chain management, digital rights management for music, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Blockchain plays a huge role here. And finally, something that's emerging hard is in the securities market, where you have these things called STOs, security token offerings, and what those are now. And the great thing is Jamaica Stock Exchange is doing some major work. They're very far along. They're doing work with an entity called BlockStation to facilitate trading of digital assets on the stock exchange, where what happens there is you can trade digital assets that are tied to actual tangible things. So you can trade a digital asset that is tied to the cost of oil, or the cost of solar power, or the cost of a rare metal or gem or something like that. Something that has an actual value that gives the digital asset value, and you can trade based on that. So blockchain will be the underpinning, just like Varun said. Look, the internet did some things for information exchange, right? That blockchain is going to do for value exchange. I think it's like the next big thing and greatest thing since I split. But this is what you're going to find that the blockchain does. We can't conceptualize some of the things.
Right now, yeah.
You can see.
But over time, we'll find the uses.
This value exists because it is the missing piece to doing things in that entirely digital space that we never had before. So when we're talking about digital society and all of these wonderful things, blockchain will be an underpinning of that. And it's very important for us to understand how it does that, because it is going to, nobody talks about TCP/IP. You know what that is?
No.
Yeah, without TCP/IP, there would be no internet. So
no internet.
Something to the internet protocol.
Right. So when you talk about blockchain is going to be like the TCP/IP of the internet, right? Blockchain will.
I can see you're a fan, Trevor. I can see you're a whole air conditioner. Okay, the last word goes to you, Donald. What are some other uses of blockchain technology that they either want to see or that is already on the market or to come? And Varun and Trevor has already said that there's some things that we can't even conceptualize right now, but these have to be things that make sense to the regular everyday person.
Well, here's one. You mentioned Peaked earlier, right? Peaked.com is
a blockchain social media.
Well, it's an interface for a blockchain that's built particularly for social media, and that blockchain is called Hive, right? Anyone can build a Peaked or a website or a bulletin board or social group or chat space on the Hive blockchain. And what Hive does is secure the data on there. So for example, right now, former President Trump is suing everyone from Facebook to Amazon to Twitter for censorship, right? Censorship on the Hive blockchain almost doesn't exist. I say almost because we have what's called community censorship. There is no one central point like a Mark Zuckerberg or a Jack Dorsey or a Facebook data center that may be able to pull your content off, right?
Yeah.
The creator of the content, the owner of the keys, the same way like in Bitcoin, if you own your keys, you own your Bitcoin. And on Hive, if you own your keys, you own your content. You're the only one that can remove it. So imagine a Facebook or a social space where it's totally censorship free, freedom of speech exists, and the only time there is some form of censorship is when there's truly bad actors and the community itself decides this person needs to be banned, blocked, however. Everyone has examples for why Facebook, Twitter, and traditional social media has problems with censorship. Everyone has posted a flyer for a party and got that warning. Oh, you need 50% less text, or there's illegal information being posted, right? So for example, I own Can Jam Retreat, which is a cannabis retreat on West End. I'm a former member of the Westmoreland Hemp and Ganja Farmers Association, Varun. I'm not sure if you're of course, everyone knows IFV and those individuals, right? So we've been creating this space in the grill where we use Hive and Web3 applications to not only disseminate the information based on what's happening, hotel offerings, events, etc., but also to attract new visitors from the crypto space, right? So if you post something on Facebook, a cannabis-related event, for example, there's a strong chance the filters are going to pick it up. No one's going to see it, right? If you post it on Hive or Web3 blockchain, right, there is no entity that's going to say this is illegal in this space and have it removed automatically. There's no algorithm that's going to automatically remove this. If the community says, okay, it's hate speech, it's bad for us, it will garner enough downvotes where the system itself puts up a warning, based on community feedback, you must click here to view this. But it's not removed, right? The content creator's content is still there. It's just somewhat behind. Yeah.
Okay, so there's
I'm just saying, there's just another use case for blockchain tech to secure content and freedom of speech. And that's something new that's coming out of the technology. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
To maybe just give an example that's really tangible for every Jamaican. So we're often asked to sign forms and images or photos by a JP to verify that this.
Tell us a blockchain get rid of JP. Jesus Lord,
blockchain can absolutely remove the need for JP, right? With a click.
I'm glad Varun brought
100%
because shameless plug, right? We have a digital signature platform that's built on blockchain. That one of the underlying capabilities is that it would negate the need for a JP.
What's the name of that platform, Trevor?
It's called Signature. That's the name of the platform.
Is it available publicly?
Yeah.
Okay, drop the link because God knows right now at this very moment, bro, when I'm struggling with finding a JP.
So here's the thing.
So you're such a nerve.
But here's the thing: legislation has to be in step. Which our legislation is, I'm just saying you have to be mindful of these things. But blockchain-based signature technology can negate the need for a JP because a JP is there to validate the transaction. That's automatically done.
Yeah, by the blockchain.
On a blockchain-based signature platform.
I pray the day because it's the most useless. You know what? Why I want to stop it? Vern, you were saying. First, I don't know want to stop it today.
No, I mean,
art.
You get it. Like that's an example, a perfect example of a good use case here in Jamaica. But take it a step further, right? Why do I have to keep always filling out the same information on these forms to begin with? Can't I just say I am who I am and my address, which is stored in the blockchain, is automatically
verifiable. Yeah.
So the identity management, Trevor touched on earlier, is a great use case.
That's why it needs blockchain underneath it to, kind of
build that trust, so that we can all
yeah.
This,
All right, guys, thank you so very much. This was a very enlightening conversation. Didn't realize that I was as dunce to this whole blockchain technology thing. Donald, you said there was something about Jamaicans making money on Hive.
Yes, just 1 minute. I mean, I kind of missed the whole point when I was explaining it. The fact that it's lives on a blockchain and it's monitored the records are kept tracked by the Hive cryptocurrency. The same likes that you would get on Facebook, right, equate to dollar values on Hive. Exactly. So when Hive originally came out, one of the hooks that we used to use is post your music video on YouTube, right, or any content on YouTube, wait 7 days, repost it on Hive, and wait 7 days to see which one pays you first, right? So for example, it takes Jamaican artists millions of views to make money from YouTube, which we are the #1 generator of music in the world, right? On platforms and social networks like Hive, you can monetize that almost instantly. It's part of the underlying system. The more Hive people have, exactly. So the cryptocurrency that keeps track, it's of the social value of your content that you post, has a dollar value, and that's paid out every 7 days. So imagine if you were to take your content.
A Black Mirror name?
Yes, I forget.
The series on Netflix?
On Netflix, yes. So it came out of a previous blockchain named Steam, which did the same exact thing. Content creators could migrate from YouTube, Facebook, Twitter with the same exact content, and the likes that you get on Facebook equate to actual dollars on Hive, right? Because there's no central authority that's posting advertisements. Exactly. There's no central authority that's putting advertisements up on your content. So you, as the content creator, right, gain the revenues that are created from the traffic directly from your content. Right? So 10 years ago, we were able to create a blog. 10 years ago, you were able to create a blog, put a couple AdSense posts, blocks on your blog, and the more traffic you get, you'd get paid from that. Well, everyone's now blogging on Facebook, Twitter, traditional social media. So they're getting all those revenues, and their algorithm is controlling what everyone sees.
They own your content.
Pretty much. So Hive, the algorithm is cream rises to the top. If the community likes it, everyone sees it, right?
Okay.
Facebook, it's if Facebook can make money off of it, everyone sees it.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Really appreciate. As I said, I was 2 years old when I learned a lot of these things. Really appreciate it, and I'm happy that we have, and I've always said it, we have the technical expertise here. We have people who understand what these things are and how they work. If only we could get more y'all in the public space to explain, because I don't think the media or even government, to be honest, is doing a really good job as to explain it. Because for me, the BOJ just issuing a warning saying these things are anti-secure, you need to be careful, doesn't do anything for me. I don't know why you say that.
And it's scary for those to understand.
And it just scares me. So now I have a Trevor saying this is why this may not be secure, blah, blah, blah. It makes more sense to me now, because not just look at a bad man. And Jamaican people stay. So not just look at BOJ and bad mind pick them, show them how we get rich, because them got them better than me. You understand the personality and the mindset of Jamaicans, and then play to that in a way where we are explaining these technology and things so they can understand. Because I see some very nefarious, scammy looking activities happening on some of these Twitter crypto pages. And I'm saying people are just not aware. And telling them that it's bad doesn't help. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate it, Trevor, Varun, Donald, very enlightening, and please let's do this again.
Thanks for inviting.
All right, guys, take care. All right, Monique, What I learn? I learn enough things.
Me learn all heap, and I'm also sure that I'm gonna learn more when I watch it over.
Exactly.
Because all heap of the things kind of went here, and this, and not over, but like when something dip on the tip of your tongue or something right,
But
you're like,
you brought up so many good points that I wasn't even thinking about though.
but that's how I had to understand it, because I have to put it in terms that make sense to me.
To you, yeah.
Yeah, you have to put it in terms that make sense to you, that it's soaking, because a lot of the time you hear and everybody's talking in words that you dictionary understand,
Yeah.
like you know what the word mean,
but putting them all together
together,
one sentence, yeah,
together, you're
wait
just like, okay.
But I think they did a good job at explaining.
Yeah.
I like the analogies that were used, and I like how they use the analogies and tie it back into real world. You see, I studied law, and a part of what makes a law degree so difficult is the esoteric nature of the information that is being shared, because it's high level or highbrow, or one you have a term where you call it high level. Is that what you usually say when you talk about information that is on a
I don't remember.
So if you're not really getting into it, and what I had to do is I had to turn to Google to kind of get them to break down somebody's legal jargon and make it make sense to me in a layman's way. So guys, a part of what we do at Digital Jamaica is layman explaining things to people in a way where on a real level we can understand it, it can make sense to us, because I want us to be able to make better decisions, more informed decisions. And to make informed decisions, your information has to be accurate. Know what I mean? But guys, that was awesome. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, Varun. Thank you, Donald. Really appreciate you guys coming on for the second time. And the internet did not fail us today. But coming up on our people and product is Anya Jean Phillips, and she's doing things in a very particular, very creative way. And I came across it. In fact, more, where I came across deep for me? It was, like when you get story recommendations, like, are you following these pages? Have you ever seen those?
Yeah.
So that's
suggestions.
Suggestions, that's it. And I saw it and I clicked on it. I was like, is she singing the ad? This is cool. So I reached out to her, and here we are. And we absolutely love creatives over here. So coming up next. All right, and when we come back, Monique is going to jump on a conversation with Anya, and she's going to tell us all about Do It For Me, how it started, what she's doing, where this whole creative idea come from, and all that good stuff. Okay, guys, we do, right?
Hi, Anya. Thank you so much for sticking in there with us. We started a little late with the conversation with the others, but because I saw you were tuning in, you were listening, as you can appreciate, we're really trying to get down to the nitty-gritties. Yes, and help persons understand while we venture to understand ourselves. But enough about that, Anya. I'd love for you to tell us about yourself. Who are you? And tell us about Do It For Me. Like, start with you first. Start with you and your background.
Well, hello, Monique. Hello, viewers. Hello, listeners. It's an honor and a privilege to be here, first and foremost. My name is Thank you. My name is Anya Jean Phillips. I am a 26-year-old. For the 8 hours of the work week, I am an admin / sales assistant. All the other hours, like the entire 24, I do advertising. I do social media advertising, and that's what Do It For Me essentially is about. I'm the second daughter of 4 to a single mother. Big up mommy anyway you're there. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, and that's top tier. That's most important for me. And yeah, I'm a creative. I'm a trained dancer and a singer. And I write. I
Ooh.
don't call myself a writer, but I write on the spur of inspiration.
Okay, love it. So, digital or online or social media advertising. How did you conceptualize? So tell us a little bit more about Do It For Me and which space, because digital ads, Google ads, so there is a whole world of digital ads out there. Tell us how Do It For Me does your ads. What's your take?
So primarily my ads are done via social media because that's where I think the buzz is a lot of times. And a lot of times when persons want a particular service or product, where they go to first? Instagram. Oh, there's a new restaurant. Let me check it out on Instagram. Oh, there is a buzzing artist on the rise. Let me check him out. Check Instagram, that kind of thing, or check YouTube. So primarily I am on Instagram and I'm on Facebook as well. And my WhatsApp is is flooded with everything Do It For Me. So that's where my little corner is right now. But of course there are plans to branch off into YouTube and the wider social media sphere.
Okay, all right. So how would you define what you do at Do It For Me in the creation of these social media ads?
All right, I term it advancing local businesses. I liken it to a caterpillar or a butterfly. The 3 stages that we learned in school: the cocoon stage, the caterpillar stage, and then the butterfly stage. I am who you call when you're coming out of the cocoon into the caterpillar stage, and just about when you're getting into the butterfly stage. I go after those small businesses, and I'm actually changing the narrative. No business is small. So I'm going after those blooming, those blossoming, those growing businesses, and I'm assisting them to put them out there in the market, to let people know that, hey, this service is available, this product is available, and you need to be a supporter, a buyer of this product or this service. And most importantly, I think I'm doing a good duty because I'm promoting brand Jamaica. I think as Jamaicans, there's so much negative about us, but there's also so much positive. And me, I'll focus on the positive. We have a lot of talented people here.
Yeah.
We have a lot of gifted people, and a lot of them are millennials. A lot of them are, still in school, and they just need that little bit of push. They just need somebody to know that, hey, I'm doing this thing, and I need a little help. I need a little push. I need somebody to support me, and I am that support. Just call me your business facilitator. That's what I do.
And I think there's something, because Anya not telling y'all the full lowdown. When she does an ad, it's not from what I've seen, and Anya can correct me. I am willing to take it. But when I looked at Do It For Me, what I saw was creativity. It wasn't a matter, the emphasis or the focus wasn't, I understand Facebook business manager, I am a proficient at that level, and I can place your digital ad to get X percentage ROI. It was more of a matter of using a combination of creativity, of artistry, of Jamaicanness and flavor, because you talk about Jamaicans and their talent. And we know those pieces of content that go viral just because somebody's a Jamaican, because God knows. Yeah, because when you see it, you're just like this could have gone no other way, because either this person is hilarious, this person got they have that it factor. So even for you, Anya, when people ask you, but what you do, you infuse creativity to provide businesses with the sort of attention, like your currency is actually attention. So that's what more you talk about. Do It For Me. Yeah. All right. So where did the idea of marrying this creativity and actually putting it out for persons to to get your services. Like I know a lot of the time people do this stuff, or people say you're funny, or people say you can sing, or people say you can dance, and you enjoy doing it, but many persons don't take it to the next level, to make this into a business. So how did this idea of merging these things kind of come to mind?
I'm gonna answer this, and I say this at the risk of sounding a little corny, but corny it's gonna be. It was clearly the inspiration of God Himself. I couldn't have married the two together on my own. When my friend, my former supervisor, now friend Althea Sinclair, soon to be Robinson, said to me, Anya, when you open your mouth to speak and you're encouraging somebody or you're helping somebody push an event they're having, you just do it so effortlessly. And I think you should make this into a business. So as I was going about, doing the background research, seeing what kind of social media advertising is already out there, I realized that everybody, or for the vast majority of them, they're promoting for a company, they share their flyer if they're having a special, but it's generally just flyers and posters and stories.
Static.
And so I said, okay, right. So I said, okay, how can I step into the space and make it different? And then it's like God licked me upside my head and said, but throw down the talent bucket in your chest. I don't really see why you sit down here and ask yourself that question here. So, then light bulb. It was like, all right, then. So clearly I have to merge my creativity and the content that the clients provide for me to best advertise and promote them. And really that's the rest was history. So when people ask, oh, you come up with this, the other song they're sick, or you just act out of the blues, I'm like, that was not me. That's all God, no cap. Me not ask nobody about it. I tell you. When I put pen to paper to even write my theme song, it's like it came straight out of heaven. I didn't think, I didn't pre-think, I just put the pen to paper and the words literally started to flow. Yep.
Yeah, so that actually covers how you got started, because it was the motivation and inspiration from one. So since you've started offering your services, what has the reception been like from the community?
The reception, my community is massive. And I'm eternally grateful for that. The reception has been really good. People are like, finally, you're stepping into your purpose. You always did talented, you always did funny, you always did gifted. So now you're actually doing something with it. And those same people are tugging at me now to go into media, but me not to look on them in the money. Me not look for them direction right now. You understand? But the reception has been really good, and I'm super grateful. And there has been, points where people say, you can do this a little better, or next time you're going to do this way, try this route. And I'm very much open to correction, because I believe, there's always room for improvement. So never you shun correction. Bible tell you, say, a foolish man shun correction. So you must be willing to accept correction when it comes. So I'm very grateful for those who give and leave input as well.
Okay, absolutely love that. And I'm glad that you're building your community, and that persons are so supportive of everything that you've been sharing so far. So who would you say your services are for?
My services are for everybody. Man, I left out nobody. In terms of, I believe that if you have a business, if you have an idea, if you have a product, you have a service that you want to start providing, or you're already providing, and you want that little boost, I am your person. Whether you are a millennial, whether you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, I don't necessarily turn away anybody. You have a business idea, you have a plan, you need it to be boosted, I am your girl. I am definitely your girl.
So persons who are trying to connect with different audiences, particularly in the digital space, who want to get in front of more persons because they have something to
Definitely.
offer. They either have something new, a new
Right.
line, or a new product, or they may be starting out into the space and want some more exposure. All right,
Right.
we absolutely love to see it. How can persons find you? How can people contact
Uh-huh.
you?
All right. So you can find me on Instagram at Do It For Me. That's DEETFIMI. That's literally Do It For Me in Patois. It's the same on Facebook. And you can reach me also on WhatsApp at 876-777-1121. That's eight
All
seven six
right.
seven 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 1121
All right. And is there anything at all that you'd like to plug or to share any juicy new offerings or anything like that coming up?
Well, I know the summer is winding down, but I plan to do it's in the works. I'm doing a 2-day promotion. This is a little different. It's open to everybody, anybody who has a small business and wants their product or their service to be pushed in a creative way. So this is me giving away free creativity. The dates are still pending, but it's definitely going to be before September. Any other plug? Just want to encourage somebody. I never ever saw myself as a business person. I always tell myself, say, I could never do business because it was never me. I was never just the type to, I never gravitated towards any of that. But look at us now, like TVJ. So, don't ever doubt yourself. Don't ever
Yeah.
doubt yourself. And be grateful for your community. Do It For Me is built on the premise of community. I hold my friends and just that community vibe, that community feeling. I hold it very near and dear to me, and it is
Yeah.
the premise on which the business is built. My clients are community, are family to me, and I want them to feel that as well from their end. So I'm not turn on nobody. I'm here to help. As my theme song says, I'm literally just here to help your dream, your goals materialize, and that's all I'm about. So if you have a business, this is your wake up, this is your confirmation. Go for it. You can do it. You're gonna have failing moments. Nobody's perfect. But when you fail, when you fall, you get up, you brush off, and you go again.
Go again. Yeah. All
Yep.
right. All right, Anya Jean. You came in, you said a word, you promote your business, you know everything.
So come
All
on, I'm
right.
go right through money, my
Right
talk.
through. Oh, goody come right out. All right,
So
Anya. Thank you so much for joining us today.
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank
Really
you,
looking forward to seeing how you grow and further expand.
thank you,
Do It For Me. And
thank you.
looking forward to seeing you in these other spaces. Some people in the comments said the media thing look nice. So let's see.
Promising.
Let's see. Yeah, let's see.
Well, the well from which my giftings flow is a never-ending well. So
Yes.
we're
You're
going up
not you're
from
not
here,
you're
straight
not
up.
saying
We're
no.
not done.
All right, all
We're
right,
not
all
bucket and
right.
we're not stop money.
Love to see it. All right, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Yeah, man. Bye
You
bye.
too.
All right, guys. So coming up next, we have the answer to our trivia question. And in today's trivia question, we asked what was the first widely used digital currency and in which year was it created? And the first the first widely used digital currency was actually e-gold. Introduced in 1996, it grew to several million users before it was actually shut down by the US government in 2008. There have been many other digital payment solutions that have emerged and grown in popularity afterwards. In 97, Coca-Cola started vending machines that offered mobile payments. And we all know PayPal. They started its US denominated service in 1998. 2008, in 2009, Bitcoin was launched, which marked the start of decentralized blockchain-based digital currencies with no central server and no tangible assets held in reserve. And we talked all about blockchain, all about cryptocurrency, all about those things in our segment earlier with the experts. So I did take a note of persons who responded and really want to say thank you so much, guys, for participating. Please stay tuned and keep answering and chiming in. And you never know when you may win and what you may win from Digital Jamaica. All right?
That was an amazing conversation with Anya.
Listen.
Anya got me fired up. I'm like, yes, girl! That was an amazing conversation with Anya, though. She's very, inspirational.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. I love her energy. I love the fire.
Yes, that's it. And I think when you come a certain way, when you step a certain way, people respect it. Eyes go up, and it was evident. She may not have the biggest platform yet, I may say yet, but her community show up and show out for her. And that in and of itself says a lot,
It does. It does.
All right, guys.
So wanted to thank all our guests today. Trevor Forrest from 876 Technology Solutions, Varun Baker from Farm Credibly, Donald Porter from Beachfront Crypto, from Peak, from Hive, and of course Anya Jean Phillips from Doing For Me, guys. And thank you for showing up for next episode of the Digital Jamaica Live Show. Now we are on our road to 1,000, Monique. The road to 1,000. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So make sure that you subscribe, that you like this video, that you leave your comments in the comment section, and that you share us so we can, grow this platform. And please go listen to the latest episode of our podcast and subscribe over there too.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to make this platform into somewhere where we can provide as much information as we can for persons in the tech and digital space, but just provide a community space where information exchange happens, where knowledge increases. And so at the end of the day, we're all operating with as much information and we can make some money on these here internets. Okay?
Yeah.
That's what we're here to do. And Mo, thank you for being my co-host.
Original good girl.
That's
you, by the way. I call you the original good girl. And I was actually saying we're going to have to talk back to Donald because he did just start the conversation there with the eyes. And we can't just leave it so. So, but even so, this episode has been so long because it was just juicy bits.
It was a lot of juicy stuff.
Yeah.
And we appreciate you guys for staying with us. And we'll see you again next week. Follow us on social media, Twitter, Digital Jamaican, Instagram, Digital.Jamaica, Facebook, Digital Jamaica. We're also on LinkedIn at Digital Jamaica. And we'll see you next week.
All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.